So back in 2017, I don't know if you remember, but back-to-back hurricanes ravaged the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So, St. Martin, St. Bart's, Anguilla, the USVI, all of these islands were pretty much destroyed. Every single one of my competitors' responses to this situation was the following. You have travel protection, you have travel insurance, file a claim.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, sorry, you should have bought it.
Yeah.
We didn't do that.
Welcome to Behind the Stays, a podcast that shares the stories behind your favorite boutique hotels, short-term rentals, and hospitality brands, and the hosts, operators, and entrepreneurs who've brought them to life. Every Tuesday and Friday, you'll meet the military veterans, the retired flight attendants, the tech entrepreneurs, the school teachers, the single moms, the hoteliers, and real estate investors who are all, in their own unique ways, shaping the future of travel and hospitality. Discover how these visionaries from all over the world have built stunning landscape hotels in the mountains, designed bohemian bungalows on the beach, erected eclectic, off-grid, nature-immersed escapes, and so much more. Behind the Stays is brought to you by Journey, a first-of-its-kind loyalty program that brings together an alliance of the world's top independently owned and operated stays and allows travelers to earn points and perks on boutique hotels, vacation rentals, tree houses, ski chalets, glamping experiences, and so much more. And I'm your host, Zach Boozy-Cruz, head of the Journey Alliance. All right, friends, without further ado, enjoy the show. In just a moment, you'll meet Steve Lassman, Vice President of Villas of Distinction, a luxury villa company that's been curating remarkable vacation homes since the 1980s. Steve's story runs 3 generations deep in the travel industry, and he's worn just about every hat that you could possibly imagine, from airline sales to hotel operations to everything in between, before finally finding his calling in the world of private villa experiences. In this episode, Steve reveals why Villas of Distinction is all about quality over quantity and how they've nurtured enduring partnerships with top travel advisors around the world. Their approach to vetting every villa, from hot water pressure checks to wine glass counts, is anything but casual, ensuring that each stay meets their lofty 5-star criteria. And when things get tough, like after a major hurricane, they've proven they'll put the guest experience above everything else. Tune in to hear how a legacy family business and decades of travel shaped Steve's hospitality mindset, why a curated portfolio of villas guarantees the best guest experience, real-life stories of turning fixer-upper villas back into 5-star stunners, the magic of working with a travel advisor and why you should do so if you don't already, and last but certainly not least, predictions on the next big trends in luxury villa travel. All right, friends, without further ado, get ready to meet Steve. All right, Steve, we are live. Good sir. Welcome to the podcast. It's an honor to have you. How are you doing today?
I am great, Zach. Thank you for having me as we gear up for the best time of the year, holiday season.
It is the greatest time of year. And in fact, this is, Steve, I haven't even told you this, but this is the last episode of the year. So this is a big deal.
So you saved the best for last.
You saved the best for last. I hope so. I hope so.
Who am I not to pat myself on the back?
Our listeners will be sure to let us know whether or not this is whether or not we saved the best for last. Well, Steve, we connected on LinkedIn recently, and I've been on this deep dive of Villas of Distinction, and I have just been fascinated by what I've learned about the business and wanted to hear a little bit more about the story behind it. But before we talk about Villas of Distinction, I want to hear about you. Like, how did you even get into hospitality? What's Steve's sort of story into coming into the industry?
So I might be working longer than you're on the planet, but I started in the travel industry in 1982.
Wow.
So I will be hitting my 42nd year in January, actually. Wow. When I started, well, first off, I'm third generation travel industry.
Okay. That's exciting.
So
wow.
My dad was a doctor, but my mom and dad owned a couple travel agencies. My mother-in-law worked in a travel agency. My mother-in-law's father was a travel advisor.
Wow.
My sister was a travel advisor. My sister-in-law is a travel advisor. And both my kids work in travel. So they're actually 4th generation. Jeez. So, you could say travel is in our blood. I have done everything. I started obviously with my family owning travel agencies, but I've worked for the cruise lines. I've worked for the airlines. I've worked for hotel companies. I've worked for tour operators. And
Wow.
now, I've been with this particular company and the owners of this company for most of my career. But we've been doing Villas of Distinction since 2006.
Wow.
We've owned it. I remember when I first started in this industry, where hotel availability was in a big book, not a computer, a big handbook where you actually have, pages and pages and pages in front of you. I remember the first thing I learned in this industry was writing an airline ticket, how to
Wow.
write an airline ticket. I had my OAG in my back pocket when I traveled because you needed to know the scheduling, so I think we've come a long way. And what's interesting is, people like friends outside of what I do are always, do you ever get tired of it? Because I'm traveling a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't get tired of something you love,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I love what I do.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, you might be the most qualified person then that I've ever had on the show, because given sort of just how many aspects of the travel industry you've dabbled in, right? We've got people that have built and run hotels. We've got folks that are building next generation incredible short-term rentals, right? And we've got folks who've been in the industry for a while, and then those are just starting out. But I don't think we've had somebody who's been in this industry as long as you have been, in as many diverse seats as you've sat in. So this is a real treat. I want to hear actually about Villas of Distinction. Like, what exactly is the business? And then I want to ask you some questions about just how you've seen the industry evolve, given sort of your tenure in it.
So Villas of Distinction has been around since 1988. As I mentioned earlier, we purchased it from the original owner in 2006. Very different from when we bought it to today. And I know you want to get into what makes us different, but some of that will kind of meld into this part of the story.
Sure.
When we took it over, there was about 30,000 homes on the platform. And the first thing we did was, what? We can't offer a product that we can put our name on and that we can vet, inspect, and guarantee the quality of if we've got 30,000 villas.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the very first thing we looked at was, okay, how many is the right number? Because I know we talked before we even went on the air, you talk about some of these do-it-yourself homes, so do-it-yourself sites like the Airbnbs, the VRBOs, and these that are out there, 7.2 million homes,
Yeah.
7 million homes. And they don't even hide the fact that they've never seen any of them, so it's kind of it's a hit or miss.
Sure.
There's a lot of great homes there, but there's some that, maybe are less than desirable.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to be that. We didn't want to be everything for everybody. So we made a couple of choices. And another choice was when we purchased it, a good percentage of our business was direct to consumer.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, third generation, started with my family having a travel agency business. So first couple of decisions we made, I said, number one, we're switching that paradigm. We're going to be a travel advisor booked business. We're going to want travel advisors to be our customer. And there's a lot of reasons behind doing that. I laugh because people say, well, why do you have such quality customers staying in your villas? I said, because we have travel advisors who are kind of, vetting customers before they even get to us.
Yeah.
So that's number one. So we made that paradigm shift from being a direct to consumer company to one that is supported by the travel advisor, which we can get into more in a minute. Number two, we said we don't want to have the most villas. We just want to have the best villas. So we literally overnight went from about 30,000 villas down to about 5,000. And then we kept cutting the list even more. Right now, we're at right about 3,900 villas in over 60 destinations around the globe.
Wow.
And that is a doable list for you to vet, inspect, and guarantee the quality of.
Yeah.
But more importantly, when we looked at this business, we said, okay, we need to look through the lens of the guest and not through the lens of ourselves. So everything that we do is through that lens of a guest. Now, I'm sure everyone will come on your show that's in this travel business and will say to you, we always look through the lens of the guest. Yeah, when things go well, everybody looks through the lens of the guest because you want to have a great experience for the guest. But it's when things go sideways that, yes, there are companies that look through the lens of the guest, but then there are companies that look through the lens of their pocketbook prior to the guest. And I can give you the perfect example of this. And again, as I've said to you, if I start getting too rambling on with this one subject, just stop me.
I'm loving this. This is great. This is great story time. Please continue.
So back in 2017, I don't know if you remember, but back-to-back hurricanes ravaged the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So, St. Martin, St. Bart's, Anguilla, the USVI, all of these islands were pretty much destroyed. Every single one of my competitors' responses to this situation was the following. You have travel protection, you have travel insurance, file a claim. Yeah. If you don't have it, sorry, you should have bought it.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. In order to support our customers and look through the lens of the guest, and the customer is the travel advisor in this situation, because that's who our customer is. The guest is the end user of the product.
Yep.
But we really wanted to protect the travel advisors. We gave every single client that was impacted by the hurricanes a full credit.
Wow.
Travel anywhere in the world you want on Villas of Distinction. So if Zach was booked to go to St. Bart's and you had spent $30,000 with me, whether you had insurance or not, what was the right thing to do? Yeah. The right thing to do was to say, Zach, I'm not going to play this game of do you have insurance or not? And I know the do-it-yourselfers, the direct-to-consumers, did exactly that.
Yeah,
they did
that's
exactly
what they did.
That.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Act of God.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
We said, Zach, you now have 30,000. You want to go to Italy? Go to Italy. Wow. You want to go to France? Go to France. You want to go to Mexico? Go to Mexico. Wherever you want to go. We protected every single guest. My owners laid out $7 million.
Wow.
To make this right. Now, we, over the course of the next year, were able to secure all that money back from the homeowners to ourselves. Okay. But you weren't sitting there for a year going, where's my money? Where's my money? Or my money's gone. I should have bought insurance. So that's what I mean when you look through the lens of the guest. And it's not an easy thing to do, but that's what I believe makes Villas of Distinction different and what makes us hopefully the company of choice when a travel advisor is looking at company A, B, or C. Because again, Zach, if I book, Villa Giulia on the Amalfi Coast, whether you book it through me or whether you book it through another company, the end result of getting in Villa Giulia is going to be the same. The villa is the villa.
Yeah.
But what are the services that a company is going to provide? What is the financial integrity of the company you're doing business with? Will you be able to sleep at night knowing that $30,000 investment is safe?
Yeah.
So
wow. Oh my gosh.
Long-winded answer to your first question, and we got like 15 more.
No, that is amazing. That speaks to a lot of the character that you guys have, and really sort of the brand promise that you're invoking. I mean, I bet those customers that got that credit after those horrific disasters, I bet they're customers for life. How can you not be right after when you compare that to the experience that many of us had, which is that the number of times, thankfully it's only happened to me like twice where I've had something canceled very last minute unexpectedly, and it's the absolute worst, right? And it's like, and you feel like an idiot, quite frankly, that you didn't just check that $29.95 box of like paying for the freaking travel insurance. It's like, damn it, like come on, man, like stop being cheap.
Nothing's gonna happen. I'm going.
I know.
And if you want, I'll share the story with you when we have time. You can ask me what is the number one reason why you should sell and why you should buy the insurance, because
tell us now. Tell us now.
So, I will tell you, when people say to me, I'm going, nothing's going to happen, I'm young, what could possibly happen?
Yeah.
So I was on a business trip in the Caribbean doing our, inspections. So I started the week in St. Martin, did my inspections in St. Martin. A couple days, then went over to St. Bart's, did the same thing. Friday morning, I arrive in Anguilla. And I get there about 8:30, starting to do inspections. And all of a sudden, I felt something not right with me. I'm going to give you the long story short. By 5 o'clock that night, I was having my appendix out in Anguilla.
Jeez. What happened? Had you eaten something or what?
No, it's just,
Just
my appendix decided it was time to come out. And I remember when the doctor came in and, and he was a nice Rastafarian gentleman with, dreadlocks down to the floor, which was scary enough in itself. Super nice guy.
yeah.
And I said to him, Doc, please give me something so I can get on a plane and just fly home. And he's like, you're not going anywhere. He goes, your appendix will burst. He goes, I can give you something for the pain, but you could die. And I'm like, okay, we'll have him out here.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
And we could do a whole story on my hospital experience in Anguilla, but hey, I'm here to live the tale.
I mean, that's a story that you'll get to tell everyone for the rest of your life, though.
Exactly.
Sometimes those crazy things in life are like,
you just never know.
They're low-key worth it, though. They're low-key worth it for the story, man. You just never know.
That's why I say always purchase travel protection, because you just never know what they have in store for you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, man. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. So actually, I want to talk about how you guys vet your properties, how you inspect them, and how you make the cut. And some of this is selfish because my company was just acquired by an incredible company called Journey. And what we're doing at Journey is we're building a next generation loyalty program for the modern traveler that sort of marries hotels with vacation rentals, with luxury villas. And honestly, Steve, one of the challenges that we're running into right now as we build the company is trying to figure out exactly what our curation standards should be, right? We've got loads of folks that are lining up that want their properties on Journey. We're, trying to curate for properties with soul, right? Properties that have a story to tell, right? Something, distinct about them. And it's hard, right? Because when you're growing a business, it's like, well, hey, we need inventory. We need supply for the consumer, right? But we also want to hold ourselves to, this higher standard. How have you guys figured out how to do this well? And what are some, some pointers maybe that you've learned today that maybe at first you sort of waffled with, but you're really glad you made those decisions?
Well, at first you have to learn to say no. That's hard in any business. There are markets that you look at that are hot. Yeah. And you want to get into them, and you go and you look at the product and you just don't find the product that fits what you're looking for. Yeah. You have to be willing to walk away. Yeah. And that's a hard thing to do in any business. So there are many areas of the world where we love to have product, but it just doesn't meet, the standards that we have. That doesn't mean they don't have good product there. It just doesn't meet our standards. So you have to be able to walk away and say, as much as I would love to sell that. And that's hard when you're a salesman. Yeah. Okay. When you're truly a salesman at heart. I remember I used to have a gentleman that worked for me, years ago. And, he was the kind of guy that if you would call him and say, hey, I want that resort on the moon, he'd go, I got it for you. No problem. Then he'd hang up the phone and he'd go, Steve, we need to get hotels on the moon because I just promised it to somebody. I know I'm being a little bit off, kilter, but, you get the point. Yeah. We are not afraid to say no to a client. And it's like, look, we don't want to have this product because if we have it, you're going to be disappointed. If you're disappointed, to your first point, if I provide a remarkable experience 99% of the time, you're going to come back to me 99% of the time. Yeah. Yeah. If I provide 50-50, I may, the value of a lifetime customer is very important to us. So you have to be willing to walk away from areas that no matter what, even if there's big demand for it, walk away. And we've done that. Yeah. Number two, we own a couple management companies. So we own the management company in Italy. We own the management company in Jamaica, and we're always looking to buy management companies. Yeah. Now, when we buy companies, we don't come in and go, okay, everybody, thank you for your purchase. We got it. We'll take over from here. For instance, with the Italian management company, it's the same company with the same people, with the person who owned it, who we bought it from, running it. The only difference is we own it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they're there. It's Italian run. And them and their team go there every year, twice a year, to go through the Villa product to make sure, Zach Villa is great. Steve Villa is not living up to our par anymore. It's out. And we're not afraid to add and delete product. Okay? Yeah. Wow. We're just not afraid. And we're not afraid to delete product if a homeowner doesn't appreciate the travel advisor and us network. What do
Mm.
I mean by that? If I have a travel advisor who books Zach into one of our homes, I don't want that homeowner reaching out to Zach to say, hey, if you book with me direct next year, I'll save you
Mm.
10%.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
We're
yeah, yeah,
partners. Okay.
yeah,
So we're not afraid to drop anybody if that's the case. And, you have to, as an owner, you have to look at, we try to speak to owners to make them understand your home is a rental. Okay.
yeah,
Just because you think, I'm making up a ridiculous thing, but just because you think that Sony Trinitron TV is good enough and people shouldn't really be watching TV in St. Bart's, it's not going to fly if you want
yeah,
to rent your home for $40,000 a night.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So you asked me the question, how do we vet them and what do we look for? We have a very, exhausted list of everything
yeah,
that we will send teams in once a year. I wish we could do it more often, but it's once a year where we'll go in and we will literally look at everything, that's inspect. And it's not just about going in and going, oh yeah, TVs look good, curtains look good. No, we want to make sure, if you've got 10 bedrooms, if someone's in bedroom 1 and someone's in bedroom 10, is the hot water hot in both bedrooms?
mm,
Is the
mm,
water pressure the same at both ends? Because what
mm.
you don't want to do is go away with 10 couples and then everybody's got to get ready for dinner. And couple number 10, who's in the last bedroom, has got, it's like being on Yellowstone, having somebody pour a bucket of water over your head while everyone else is getting these beautiful warm showers. So it's that much detail that you want to make sure that there's, the hot water works all the way through. If you have air conditioning, it works in every single room. If you have internet, which, that's the trickiest problem these days,
Yeah.
and we try to be very, very upfront with it because there are some spots, especially some of the older, farm homes and things like that in Europe, especially where, the internet may be a little wonky,
Yeah.
in one of the far bedrooms. And, people go away and as much as we love people to disconnect
Yeah.
and enjoy vacation, I'm the perfect example of that. I'm 24/7, Zach, on this,
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
cell phone. I'm looking at emails even when I'm off,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
everybody else. So,
Yeah.
it's probably internet is the number one thing people want to know that works really well.
Yeah.
And in most cases, it does work really well. But there's other little things that you want to look at. You want to be able to, if you're at a villa with 10 people, you want to be able to sit at a table where 10 people can eat together.
Yeah.
Not have a table for 6 and then, a counter with 4 spots.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that if there's 10 people at the villa, do you have 10 wine glasses or do you have 40 wine glasses? Because it makes a difference. Do I want to be washing out my wine glass every time I get a new glass of wine?
Yeah.
It's the little things like that, that go to making a client's vacation exactly what they want. And what's most important to us, forgetting about the whole, inspecting and vetting the product, what's most important to us, what is the experience that you want to have as the guest?
Yeah.
That is the most important thing, because what Zach might like at a villa in Turks and Caicos might be the exact opposite of what I want in Turks and Caicos. So it's very important to get down to that detail.
Yeah,
I know I'm going all over the place.
No, this is great, and this is such an interesting. It's such an interesting model, and I want to dive into sort of the travel agents as your core customer in a second, because that is quite unique, from the folks that we've had on this pod. But before we do that, back to the kind of your curation standard. So, I'm good friends with the folks at Wander, and, Wander's their big sort of like mission, right, is this whole like distributed hotel product is sort of how they position themselves in the marketplace, which is like, hey, you're going to go to this home and it's going to be a Wander, and all Wanders are going to have these, 300 things that make them special and whatnot. And so like, people call, your average consumer calls every short-term rental an Airbnb, right? Wander wants you to start calling their homes Wander. But right, I think a distinction between Wander and a platform like Airbnb is that Wander has, at least right now, they have the same sort of asset type, right? They've got these luxury, like large homes, And so a wander feels like a wander, whether you're in Malibu or whether you're,
Yeah.
in the Caribbean, right? Or whether you're in, the Smoky Mountains. And that's very intentional today. Now, what Wander says, right, is that, that similar to, I think, what you just said, their portfolio homes will kind of come and go, right? Depending on a variety of factors. But what I've always wondered, and I haven't asked the folks there directly about this, and they're a lot newer than you guys are, so you probably have more to say here. When you inspect a home and you realize, hey, this isn't up to par, this isn't Villas of Distinction level, do you then go to the homeowner and say, hey, here are all the things that you'd need to do to get this renewed, if you will, for the next year or 2 years or 3 years? And then what are those conversations like? Like, do your homeowners get it? Like, is it a hard convince? Is it a hard ask? I'm sure it depends, but any musings you can share with us here? Because I've always wondered how those conversations go.
You are 100% correct in that it's all over the place. Okay?
Yeah.
Because, I had a situation a year ago with a very popular home of ours in La Jolla in California.
Okay. Yeah.
One of our top sellers. But the problem with being a top seller also is, homeowners want to maximize profitability.
Sure.
And I can share 2 stories here. So I always say to a homeowner, you have to have openings in your calendar.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
You do not want 52 weeks of people traipsing through your home.
Yeah.
Because your home isn't built for 52 weeks of people checking in, checking out. Things will deteriorate if you don't. To me, if I owned a home, I'd probably want to rent 2 to 3 weeks max a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have that 1 week, to make sure it deep cleans, that if anything needs repairing, whatever it is, and just, have the phone. It's like exercising every day. I can't exercise every day. I don't think a home can exercise every day.
Yeah.
So, but we had a home in La Jolla that was our top seller, and we actually had a client go, and they were very disappointed. And when they showed me what they showed me, I literally, because I again, this is one of our top sellers. I literally got on an airplane with a team of people, and we went there.
Wow.
Okay? And we literally walked through the villa and took pictures. And then I literally came back and I made a list with photos. And I said, dear so-and-so, I said, was just at your home. I said, we can no longer offer your home on our platform because your 5-star property is now a 3.5-star at best.
Wow.
And homeowners can take that one of 2 ways. They could be like, oh my God, thank you for sharing. I commit to you that I will get this corrected.
Yeah.
Or they could say, I don't agree with you. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Or somewhere in between. This homeowner was like, Steve, I promise you, I don't want to lose your business. You're too important to me. I will jump on this right away. I go, well, I'll call him Adam for now because his name wasn't Adam. Well, Adam, I'm pulling you off my site until it's corrected. And literally every 2 weeks, I got an update from the guy with pictures.
Wow.
Of everything that was repaired. And within 60 days, he literally made every single correction that we had asked for, put somebody on an airplane, they went back out there, they inspected it, and he was up and running within 60 days.
Wow.
Now, converse to that, there are stories where, we'll go in and we'll tell a homeowner, well, the linens are starting to get, a little bit older. You need to replace those. No, they're perfectly fine. Well, now instead of 36 wine glasses, you're down to, 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that 17's enough.
Yeah.
It really depends. I would say the majority of homeowners are very good about understanding what needs to be done and what level needs to maintain. Now, if you're talking about, I could tell you my funny Airbnb story because, you mentioned you stayed in Airbnb. Well, I've stayed in them too. I want to see the competition.
Yeah.
I'll never forget I stayed in one in Chicago.
Okay.
And it said TV. Okay. Well, it had a TV. Wasn't connected to anything. There was no cable, no antenna, no internet, nothing. But there was a TV there. So Yeah, there's TV, but it wasn't connected to anything, which is kind of funny in itself. But
Yeah.
so the majority of homeowners are, and we're not ticky tack. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like, if something's like minor, we're not going to be like, oh, your that plate has a scratch on it. We need, a whole new set of plates.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, but it also depends too on what is the price point.
Yeah. Sure.
You know,
Do you guys? I'm curious. Are you? So you mentioned you have a couple management companies.
Mhm.
You've got the one in Italy, and then
Jamaica.
and then Jamaica. Thank you. So are you guys? Are you guys a management company for all of your clients, or are there
No,
situations where
we
you guys?
work with other long-term partners that we've got long-term relationships with who know, they may have 300 homes in their portfolio, but they
Yeah.
know that this 100 is the only 100 that we're going to have.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because again, we've worked together for so long that they know what our standards are.
So in context, so in those contexts, the reason you guys have to go approach the homeowners is because you don't have a management contract in place with them directly, right? It's through a partner, and therefore there's not there, I guess that a lot of VRMs or property managers have a budget that they can use in any given month or any given year to make those changes to replace the wine
Absolutely.
glass or replace the
Oh, yeah.
charcuterie board or whatever it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
And then they just bill the homeowner. Yes, correct.
exactly. But in most contexts, if I'm understanding this correctly, in the large majority of contexts, you guys are not the PMs yourself,
No, we're not. No, we're
so
working with partners.
you're
Correct.
working with partners, okay?
And conversely, like the fact that we own the Italy management company, Jamaica management company, we actually sell to people like ourselves as well.
Yeah, very interesting. So then is the pitch to the homeowner as to why they'd want to work with you guys beyond your impressive, portfolio? The real pitch, I would imagine, is that, hey, we're unlocking access to high profile, high net worth guests through our travel agent partnerships,
Yes.
which we have exclusive agreements with. So therefore, the people that are going to drop, a couple $100,000 to come stay at your place for a week, those same individuals are not scrolling through Airbnb. Is that roughly sort of like the pitch, or talk to me a little bit about?
Yeah, no, I mean, you've got it. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I believe we have a better quality of clientele.
Yeah.
And that sounds so kind of bad to say that because listen, every human being on the planet is a good, we believe would be a good person. But we obviously have, people with means
Yep.
that can afford. Our average is much, I think and I don't know this for a fact because it's been a few years. I think at one point the average Airbnb transaction was about $1,700 or $1,800.
Yeah,
Where
sounds
our
about right.
average transaction is about 29,000.
Yeah.
So it's a very different model.
Yep, 100%. And so I'm curious, how have you seen the luxury market change? Because from my perspective, as I just turned 30. I'm I love to travel. I find that me and my friends from even 5-6 years ago, before we were making money that we should be spending on luxury stays, we were still spending that money on very nice stays, and I feel like there's been this shift from a consumer perspective of wanting the unique, the novel, the luxury product, even when, and not just wanting it, but actually like finding ways to pay for it, even though, right, by all accounts, I probably shouldn't be spending $1,500 a night on a treehouse, right, and yet I am, right. I'm curious from your perspective, have you seen sort of a shift in just the number of consumers that are entering the luxury / ultra luxury
Well, first
market?
off, the Airbnbs of the world and the VRBOs that advertise have brought a lot more eyeballs on us. Okay.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the pandemic was probably the greatest thing to ever happen to the home rental business that could ever happen.
Yeah.
I used to joke, hey, who developed that, that the COVID virus? Was it developed by somebody in the travel industry? But no, in all seriousness, so it created a lot of eyes. The travel advisor, obviously, during all of this period, Now they've gotten much more comfortable in selling this product. We have done, I believe, a very good job over the past 30 some odd years of really teaching and sharing with the travel advisor the experiences that a villa can bring. And the other thing that we've done a very good job on, which it used to be, and you talk about your generation, but it used to be where people thought, oh, staying in a private luxury villa is the lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at a $30,000 villa and it's 5 bedrooms, that's $6,000 per couple or $3,000 per person a week. When you break it down like that, $3,000 per person for a week in a beautiful luxury home, is not.
It's much more. Yeah, it's much more attainable. Yeah. Exactly.
So, and what's great about, and I love seeing it because you're right. It used to be, if you talk 25 years ago, who was going? Baby boomers, and that. Now, millennials, you name it. It doesn't matter now because, everyone is understanding the value of the villa. And what's great about a villa, if you have 5 couples and you all want to go away and you want to have a little bit more privacy and you want to do things like, instead of going to a luxury resort, going to that same thing for a villa, and instead of going to a wine tasting, bringing a private sommelier to the villa and doing a wine tasting at the villa. Or, we just did a nice event in November in Mexico where, we brought in, one night we brought a mariachi band in. The next night we brought in, it was a fire show with the water drums. And, to see guests banging on those water drums, water flying everywhere. But can you imagine doing that with 5 couples? It's the experience that we can create. And you're not doing it with 500 or 1,000 strangers surrounding you. It's all that. It's that personalized service, that personalized experience that we bring right to the villa for you. We do a lot of celebration travel. That's probably one of the fastest growing trends in the villa world. So, friends going away to celebrate a 40th birthday. I celebrated my 40th birthday at an all-inclusive resort. Which we had a blast. But it was 10, however many couples, I don't even remember anymore, but let's just say 10 people amongst a sea of 1,000 people.
Exactly.
Versus my 60th birthday, where we went to a Villa Lica, which was 4 couples on the Amalfi, 4 couples on the Amalfi Coast, doing the private chef, doing the sommelier one day, renting a yacht, and going up and down the Amalfi Coast. These are things that people can do now, and they're memories. And they're memories that are going to last a lifetime. And again, you hit the nail on the head, which is, it's not $25,000 a person. It can be. It certainly can be. But you can have a beautiful luxury experience for a very reasonable cost, well within most people's budget.
Yeah. Well, what I also think is at play here is something that I've been thinking a lot about, and we've been talking a lot about, is like this idea of like the new luxury, right? Like, and I think new luxury, right, is the type of traveler that they desire the more off the beaten path. Like what's cool about the villa too, right, as opposed to sort of like the top rated all inclusive resort in Europe, is that a lot of people go to the top-rated all-inclusive resort in Europe, right? Wherever that might be. And so there's this novelty factor of like, you could do that. Everyone does that. What's a lot cooler, though, is when we went and stayed in this villa on the Amalfi Coast. It's beautiful. Like, look at this. Like, look at these photos. We had a sommelier come here and do wine tasting for us. And that sort of like personal, small, right, private experience in many cases can cost the same or even less than that all-inclusive resort, right?
Yes.
But it feels so much more luxurious because it's something that very, very few people can have, because only one individual or one party rather can be renting it at any given point in time. And so I do think that you're seeing,
you mentioned about the all-inclusive or any resort. If you go and you go to the restaurant or you go to dine, here's what we're offering you.
Pick something.
With the villa, it's like, no. Here's what we want. Bring it in and cook it. So if you want, if you go to a resort and you're a a bourbon or scotch guy,
Yeah.
you're drinking what they have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus at the Villa, you want Macallan 18? No problem. We get you a Macallan 18.
Yeah.
You know, you want a George T. Stagg bourbon? We'll get you your George T. Stagg bourbon. Now, you're going to pay for it. But the interesting thing about that is you think about it, you know, when you go to a resort, how much is a bottle of water? Just a bottle of water.
It's like, you know, $9-12.
Right. You know, when you're at a Villa, how much is a bottle of water? Well, you get a case of them for probably $20 or whatever the cost is at the grocery store. And that whole case is at your Villa. So you pay 75 cents a bottle of water, so to speak.
Yeah. No, so well said. And to your point, this was the first time I had even really thought about this. Even when you go and you spend at the all-inclusive resort, even if it's like the world's best, right?
Yeah.
There's still, let's say, 1,000 other people there. There's actually no guarantee that you're going to be able to sit right in the place you want, in the restaurant, with the view that you want, right? At the time that you want, right? Like, and so you factor all of that in, and it's like, okay, great, yes, this is an incredible spot, but wow, like with your Villa, you can sit exactly where you want at the time that you want and eat the food that you want and have the ambiance that you want. Maybe like there's nothing worse, like, than for me anyways, than walking into like a beautiful, nice restaurant. My wife and I like love to eat. I love to go find like the next new place to go. But there's nothing worse than walking into a restaurant and like the ambiance and the vibe isn't quite what you were hoping for or expecting, right? Now at your Villa, right? Like you can customize that within reason, of course. But like, but yeah, I think you're hinting at this ability to actually craft a product for the new luxury traveler that I think that, you know, his historic places or other more traditional stays, it's just harder to do given the context.
And again, you said, you know, the new luxury. Well, we look at it as, what is your luxury? It's not what I think luxury is.
Yeah.
What do you think it is? And whatever you think it is, we'll make that happen for you.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. Wow. So I want to hear about these travel agent partnerships, because again, I think this is super unique. So I've never used a travel agent. I travel a lot.
Well, that's
I didn't grow up.
You need to use one.
Clearly, I need to be using one. So, and I guess like at the time, I always thought, or, you know, when I was first becoming aware of how you travel and how you buy plane tickets and all that stuff, like I remember my mom calling somebody right back in the day and like ordering plane tickets on the phone, right? When I came of age and I was booking my own travel, like the internet was here and like we just used Expedia at the time for like everything, right? And so I haven't used a travel agent personally, but I feel like there's been this resurgence of travel agents. Like I get all these like ads on my Instagram all the time of like, hey, you know, I'm a X traveler, I'm a Y travel agent representative or whatever. So I feel like they've come back and they're sort of like in vogue again. Maybe they never went away, but I'm just curious from your perspective, who are the travel agents today? What role do they really play, and like what is the value that you guys see in partnering with them?
Okay, well, most travel agents are entrepreneurs in itself. Okay, because this is their business. And their expertise in a destination is second to none. You're not going to find it on the internet, okay, by Google searching. And do you really believe what you read? You know, I'd rather have you know, if you're going, I'm going to use something completely different than the Villa world.
Please.
If you're going on an African safari, okay, which I have done, and I find it is one of the most incredible experiences that you can have.
Wow.
I want to use someone who understands every single nuance, because there's a big difference about going on an African safari and having, you know, a open Jeep and a private Jeep versus standing up in the Jeep and looking out a little pop hole on the top, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And where you're going to go and what time of year you're going to go and what animals, you know, do you want to go during migration or not? You know, having a really good travel advisor is going to maximize that for you. But the other thing about travel advisors is because they have resources. So they may get you things that you'll never see and never get if you don't, you know, so you might get, you know, like a complimentary breakfast with your hotel stay. I'm taking simple things. Or you might get, you know, $100 room credit for use, you know, that the travel advisor gets for you. There's all these little ambiances. There's also, they know people, you know, so, you know, you get to your villa and, you know, Hello, Mr. Lassman. It's so nice for you to join us. I hear you're celebrating your anniversary. Here's a bottle of champagne for you. That my travel advisor took care of. These
Yeah.
travel advisors are brilliant. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, it doesn't cost you anything to use a travel advisor. Their
Hmm.
service, their services, for the most part, are free. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, there's some that charge a fee for their expertise, which, a doctor is going to charge you, a fee for his expertise, and it's well deserved. I would never book a trip without using a travel advisor, ever. I
Wow.
had a friend of mine call me and wanted to go on a river cruise. And she said, "Do you recommend AMA or Uniworld?" I said, "What I recommend is you talk to Caroline, who's an expert in river cruising." And
Yeah.
she did. And
Yeah.
she booked the cruise through Caroline. It's just, I cannot stress enough. I all so it's funny. So when I go to celebrate something that is mine, like my 60th birthday or 65th birthday, I usually go stay in a villa. But
Yeah.
when I celebrate one of my wife's special moments,
Yeah.
I call a travel advisor and book it. You can read through the lines on that one.
Yeah.
And that's how I could
Wow.
stay married, by using a travel advisor for all my wife's. And it's true, because everything I do for my wife, the African safari, the trip to Ireland, all of that, I do through a travel advisor, because I don't know those areas. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
sit on the internet and search.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
travel advisor is worth its weight in gold. Now, we do a
Interesting.
lot of training for advisors on our product. We do live remotes for travel advisors on our product. We do fam trips for our travel advisors so they can actually see the product and experience the product. Again, I'm going to say it, and I'll say it for about the 10th time. Without a travel advisor, we wouldn't have a business. And
Yeah.
without a
Yeah.
travel advisor, you're on your own. And
So sorry,
you
sorry.
know,
Finish
no,
your thought.
I was going
Finish
to
your thought.
say, and you don't ever want to be on your own.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, interesting. So what percentage of your business roughly then is referrals from travel agents?
Percentage wise, it's probably about 90%.
Really?
And the only reason we do take direct consumer business is because it's legacy business that has been business that we've had for years. We don't. If you Google, you will not see us come up
Hmm.
as a paid search
Yeah.
for. We want to direct business to travel advisors. If a travel advisor, we make it very easy for travel advisors. Let's say Zach goes and makes a booking direct with Villas of Distinction, and then
Yeah.
you go, you know what? I'm going to go to a travel advisor to try and book my air, and they
Yeah.
go, well, where are you staying? And they go, I booked a villa. Who'd you book it with? Villas of Distinction. They can call us, and we'll give them complete control of the booking. It's now their
Wow.
booking. So
Wow.
yeah, but we're not going to say no to a booking. We're not going to say no, we don't accept it. We'll take
Sure.
it. But we're happy to pass it to a travel advisor at any point in time. It's not a problem, and we prefer
Wow.
that.
Wow. And so then just so I understand the business model here too. So then you guys are just paying out the travel advisor some basic sort of like rev share or a percentage of the booking, or
Yes, that
does
is
it
correct.
vary? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Interesting. Wow. I feel like this is like I feel like dumb, quite frankly, because it's like
Yeah, but
it's
here's the
the way.
bottom line. You have to remember, you're
Yeah,
not paying any more to use a travel advisor.
yeah,
So whether
yeah,
you booked it through me or you book it direct with a homeowner, the price should always be the same.
yeah. Well, but then the economics work out such that because you guys aren't paying an OTA cut, like Airbnb takes 15% or whatever, right? Like the reason it works is because you just take what you would have paid on a listing site, and that then goes to the travel agent, right? Is that
Yeah, I
basically how
mean,
the
yeah,
economics work?
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, and let's also look back at the least expensive form of advertising is working with travel advisors.
yeah, yeah,
I would have to spend 5 times what I'm making up the number, but let's just say 5 times to advertise to get consumers. I mean, just look at search words. I
yeah.
mean, there's a
It's incredibly
million
expensive.
companies that come up, and you're
Yeah,
paying for all of those. I don't
yeah.
have to pay for that because I'll work with the travel advisor.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's really interesting is that you guys have a very distinct product, right? And it's an
Mhm.
incredible product. And I think like that's where things like this really work, right? It's much harder if you've got an average product, right?
Yeah.
To be able to entertain a model like this. But because you have an incredible product that's a luxury product that is an expensive product, all the more reason why a business model like this makes a ton of sense. But wow, this is fascinating. So, a couple final questions for you, Steve. One is, given your experience in the industry and all the different things that you've seen, what are some like hot takes you have, or strongly held beliefs about what we'll see over the next year, or we're about to enter 2025, right? The next year or 2 years with travel. What are you betting on? What trends are you paying attention to? Anything that you've been noodling on in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I still think obviously the celebration travel is big, and I think
Yeah.
celebration and family travel is going to continue to grow. Whether it be in destination weddings, whether it be celebrating 50-year anniversary, 40th birthday, whatever, that's going to continue to grow. I think the knowledge of our particular product is going to continue to grow. I think the experiences is what people are. I tell advisors, if I was advertising, I'm not advertising the villa, I'm advertising the experience, because I think experiential is what people want.
Yeah.
I think, and that's going to continue to grow. I think we will see some technological enhancements in the luxury villa space as we move forward.
Yeah.
I think we haven't seen what's going to be the hot spot yet, 3 to 5 years from now, because it changes. It could be destination X that none of us have thought about. If you would have said to me in 2019, prior to COVID, that domestic United States was going to be a hot market, I'd have said, Zach, you're out of your mind. Nobody wants to go to, here, California, South Carolina, whatever. Then COVID hit, and the domestic product was the hottest part of our, prior to COVID, about 5% of our inventory was domestic.
Wow.
During COVID, we had it up to 30% of our product, because that's what everybody wanted, because nobody could go anywhere.
Yeah.
Or wanted to go anywhere, with the exception of a couple Caribbean or Mexico destinations. Couldn't go to Europe. I think you're going to continue. Right now, think when you say what's hot that people don't necessarily know about. I mean, Croatia, really hot right now. Last year, Greece was very hot. I mean, Italy is always hot, obviously.
Yeah.
The Caribbean, as soon as it gets cold, is always hot. So no pun intended. But I don't think we've seen the next hotspot yet. I think it's coming, because there's always some new exciting place to go to. But to me, to sum it up, I think experiences are going to continue to be what drives people, especially in the luxury market, and exclusivity. They want to have that exclusivity. They want to be able to go, to a villa in Tuscany and do a truffle hunt, and then, come back from the truffle hunt and have a chef at the villa teaching you how to prepare a 5-course truffle lunch. And then they're going to pair it with a sommelier to come in and do a wine pairing with that truffled lunch. I think that's what people want, going and experiencing, I don't know, the Palio di Siena, the incredible event, but not doing it like everyone else, doing it through like us, where, we have a private box. So you're sitting in the private box and you're drinking your Chianti Classico while you're watching the event. That's what people want. People want that private access and that luxury enhancement, but ultimately, I believe people are driven by the experience. I know I'm driven by the experience.
Yeah. As you're talking, I mean, Steve, and I've said something like this already, and you reiterated this as well, but it's almost like historically, like old luxury or traditional luxury was, you wanted to be associated with specific things that people recognized as luxury. And now it's like new luxury is, I want to be associated with things that people haven't heard about or haven't seen yet, right? Or haven't discovered, right? Or things that like they're not necessarily the name brands, right? Like they're oh wow, like I've actually never heard of this brand. What is this, right? And your exposure to that first, right, is what people want now.
Right.
And so it's just interesting how the pendulum has sort of swung.
Would you rather tell someone, hey, I'm going on an African safari, or I'm going gorilla trekking?
Yeah.
Which sounds cooler?
And people are like, gorilla tracking? What is that?
Yeah. Right? I mean, it's almost, it's not the same thing, but just the sound of it Oh, you're going on African safari? Yeah, okay. I'd like to do that someday.
Yeah.
Or you're going gorilla trekking. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting because that's not something the average person says.
Yeah.
Versus, you hear African safari.
Yeah.
Not selling an African safari short though. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Oh gosh.
Do you want to go truffle hunting in Tuscany?
Yeah.
I mean, does it get better than that?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think that this is one of the most exciting times I think to be alive because, like, the quite frankly, the internet has given access to these destinations and to these places and to the potential. It's given sort of a window into the potential of an experience, right? That historically you had to be local or have incredibly high means to somehow know somebody that was local to be able to even suggest this as an option, right? Like that like this was possible. Now we know that these things are possible. So the question is just like, again, do you want to spend your resources doing something that everyone else does? Do you want to stay at the, the hottest new hotel on the Amalfi, or do you want to, this private villa with, a chef and a private sommelier to deliver you a truly personalized experience?
Do you want to go to the cigar store and buy a cigar? Or do you want to have a guy come to your villa and roll you fresh cigar?
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Well, Steve, this has been a super fun conversation. I am so excited by your work and just thankful for you taking time out of your very busy life to come chat with me and our listeners today. If folks want to learn a little bit more about you or want to follow Villas of Distinction, what's the best way for them to kind of get in touch or just hear
the
more
best
about
way
the
go to your travel advisor.
Yeah.
Tell them I heard Steve and I want to book a villa with you in Villas of Distinction. You're more than welcome to go to our website, www.villasofdistinction.com. We're on all the social media platforms. You can find us on all of them.
Yeah.
But to me, I want to give it the one last plug. To me, I would say if you're interested in a villa, just go to your favorite travel advisor. And if you don't have one, go to the website, go to our website. My name's all over it. You can connect with me and I'll connect you with a good travel advisor.
That was going to be my final question for folks that have never used a travel advisor. Who would you recommend? But great. So I'll have all those links, folks, in the show notes below to make it really easy for you to click on over and learn a little bit more about Steve, potentially connect with your first ever travel agent, and or maybe find a new one if you're in need of one. But Steve, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Wish everybody, I don't know when they're going to listen to this, but if they listen to it now, wish everyone a happy holiday and a happy, healthy new year. And thanks for your time.
Hey friends, thanks for joining us for this episode of Behind the Stays. I'd love to know what you thought of the episode. Feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram at Behind the Stays or send me an email at zach@joinjourney.com. If this is your first time tuning in, it's a pleasure to have you and we hope to have you back again soon. But if you've been a listener for a while, I'd greatly appreciate if you'd subscribe to the show if you aren't already, and then leave us a rating and review of the show wherever you're streaming this podcast. Oh, and if you know a hotelier or a hospitality entrepreneur that's building something new and novel, I invite you to introduce them to me so that my team and I can discuss bringing them on the show. Again, you can just shoot me an email at zach@joinjourney.com or a DM on Instagram. Behind the Scenes is brought to you by Journey, a next-generation loyalty program built for the modern traveler. We're looking to onboard new boutique hotels, unique stays, and the top vacation rental management companies onto our platform every day. If you're a hospitality entrepreneur who has a stay or a collection of stays with soul, we'd love for you to apply to join our alliance at joinjourney.com/alliance. Again, that's joinjourney.com/alliance. Thanks for being here, y'all. We will see you next time.